Daniel Goleman, Emotional Intelligence, Why It Can Matter More Than IQ. Funny enough, some people say emotional intelligence is a form of IQ because intelligence is just so non-linear that most people even still don't know what intelligence is, because it's just cognitive horsepower of processing, identifying patterns faster. There is this quote that they literally say, um, smart people go the same way faster, geniuses carve the new path, and ordinary people go the same path with the ordinary pace. So intelligence is basically more faster pattern recognition, faster adaptation, that could even, funny enough, people say intelligence is um, not tied to resilience or character or grit. But funny enough, if you see patterns faster, instead of, let's say, instead of 100 occurrences, you need 10 occurrences to see the pattern. So you literally see what is working and you implement that yourself. For instance, I'm documenting myself because my eyes are kind of tiring to the text. So I read not as much as I like. About 100 pages a day is not where I want to be. It's not a contest, but it's just insatiable curiosity about things. So what I found out is that funny enough, I get energy when talking, because talking makes me articulate my thoughts in an orderly manner that not only soothes my own sense of self, but also it deepens my connection with concepts, people, to things. So when I started narrating my own story, I connected so deeply with my own story when I read it for the first time out loud that I was like, okay, why not just read everything like this and document it as my own journey? But also, sure, the monetization could be nice, but also on top of that, um, it deepens the knowledge because I'm literally now commentating on a reading of a book. Sure, it takes more time, but the time is gonna be vindicated with two things. One, I read more, and two, I read deeper and I learn deeper because I'm literally teaching myself the concepts and pattern recognizing with so many other things I've seen in life, I've created myself, or I've read. And even a further down the line benefit of that is that you literally learn deeper and faster while reading because you have trust bias towards your own voice, and it has been scientifically proved that people retain more information for longer periods of times when they read out loud. So let's get to it. Emotional intelligence, why it can matter more than IQ. Okay, Bloomsbury. For Tara, wellspring of emotional wisdom. Okay, this guy doesn't lack suave uh, talk, smooth talker. So Aristotle's challenge: anyone can become angry. That is easy. That's like literally human compulsion. But to be angry with the right person, the right degree, at the right time, for the right purpose, and in the right way, this is not easy. Yeah, my guy, that's literally impossible to be angry with the right person. That literally is 10% of time to the right degree. That's not that difficult to the right person at the right time. That is still is bleeding towards a degree for the right purpose. This is still ties to the right person, because if the right person is for the right purpose as well. So and in the right way. Okay, so this is basically impossible because you're chipping down the right person into the micro commitments of anger management. So interesting. Aristotle, the Nicomachean ethics. Okay, I need to read on that as well. It was an unbearably steamy August afternoon in New York City. Okay, we're telling a story. Okay. The kind of sweaty day that makes people sullen with discomfort. I was heading back to a hotel and I stepped onto a bus up Madison Avenue. I was startled by the driver, a middle aged black man with an enthusiastic smile, who welcomed me with a friendly "Hi, how you doing?" as I got on, a greeting he preferred to everyone else who entered as the bus warmed through the thick midtown traffic. Warmed, nice. I'm gonna use that for my writing. Note brain, note that. Um, each passenger was as startled as I, and locked into the morose mood of the day. Few returned his greeting. Okay, he literally is telling us a story of a person through that person's third eye view, which is interesting. But as the bus crawled uptown through the gridlock, okay, I fuck with this guy's storytellings of word choices, because I rarely see stories that literally lets you feel, and that feeling becomes with word choices of texture and other senses of you being involved. Crawled, okay, crawled, warmed. Okay, this guy is literally implying the laziness of, or the tiresome act of daily grind through inanimate object as emotional anchor. Interesting. So my guy actually knows how to write. Um, Through the gridlock, a slow, rather magical transformation occurred. The driver gave a running monologue for our benefit, a lively commentary on the passing scene around us. There was a terrific sale at that store, wonderful exhibit at this museum. Did you hear about the new movie that just opened at that cinema down the block? His delight in the rich possibilities the city offered was infectious. By the time people got off the bus, each in turn had shaken off the sullen shell they had entered with. Okay, okay. And when the driver shouted out, "So long, have a great day," each gave a smiling response because they were emotionally engaged with him. And that's how our brain works. You literally associate good things to people sharing that good thing. Basically, there was this what you call this study that when people um, would share good news, they would be elevated in the receiver's eyes as the good news bearer, and the person would also be associated with goodness, good feeling that was associated to the good news. But when it was bad news, it's a literally it has even a funny thing that when it is raining, some people are literally reluctant to be the weatherman because they have received so many things, so many letters, hate speeches that you made it rain today, which is ridiculous, but that's how our brain processes things. So yeah, his enthusiasm literally made them feel more enthusiastic. Therefore, he became more of a positive person as well. Interesting. The memory of that encounter has stayed with me for close to 20 years. When I rode that Madison Avenue bus, I had just finished my own doctorate in psychology, but there was scant attention paid in the psychology of the day to just how such a transformation could happen. Psychological science knew little or nothing of the mechanics of emotion, and yet, imagining the spreading virus of good feeling that must have rippled through the city, starting from passengers on his bus. I saw that this bus driver was an urban peacemaker of sorts, wizard-like in his power to transmute the sullen I don't know that word sullen irritability that seethed in his passengers. See, this motherfucker knows how to play with words. Seethe, crawl, warmed. See, he wants to um he wants to literally imply and indicate the motion of moving happiness as he's literally indicating here, which is fascinating because uh, word choices are so precise and meticulous that is adding to his depth of messaging. Yeah, I really fuck with this shit in his passengers, so to soften and open their hearts a bit. In stark contrast, some items from this week's paper. At a local school, a 9-year old goes on a rampage, pouring paint over school desks, computers, and printers, and vandalizing a car in the school parking lot. The reason? Some third grade classmate called him a baby and he wanted to impress them. Okay. 8 youngsters are wounded when an inadvertent bump in a crowd of teenagers milling outside a Manhattan rap club leads to a shoving match, which ends when one of those affronted starts shooting a 38 caliber automatic handgun into the crowd. The report notes that such shootings over seemingly minor slights, which are perceived as acts of disrespect, have become increasingly common around the country in recent years. And that's the fascination with time as well. The more, this is quoting, paraphrasing Mark Manson, the more um, this is interesting because the more simple way of life gets, the more complex our processing mechanisms of that way of life gets. And to add to Mark Manson's observations, as Cialdini says, the more complex navigating our life day to day gets, so the more autopilot decisions we make. We literally have, to quote, I'm a fucking like a encyclopedia in this shit, but to quote, because I don't wanna be uh, saying things without actual like backing, because not only that's not my purpose to train my mind to speak out of thin air, but also if I haven't fact checked that shit, I just say from who I've heard from this. So, based on Napoleon Hill's declarations, we have 70,000 thoughts a day. So, imagine 70,000 thoughts, you linger on every one of them. We have literally 24 hours, and thanks to our body biology, a 25 years old like me needs 9 to 10 hours of sleep a day. So yeah, good luck with those thoughts. So those thoughts literally are automated to most extent, that we literally navigate based on autopilot, as Cialdini says in his book Influence. For murder victims under 12, says a report, 57% of the murderers are their parents or step parents. In almost half the cases, the parents say they were merely trying to discipline the child. The fatal beatings were prompted by okay, infractions such as the child blocking the TV, crying, or soiling diapers. Jesus. That reminds this reminds me of that news that the mother wanted to um, soothe the crying of his her child, and she didn't do like a violent thing. She was just breastfeeding the child, but pushed a little bit further, that the child literally suffocated on the milk, which is yeah. A German youth is on trial for murdering five Turkish women and girls in a fire he set while they slept. Part of a neo-Nazi group. He tells, okay, this fucker is literally color coding these fucking words in a recording that the recording is not gonna get demonetized, but only is gonna get fucking flagged by YouTube. Thank you, my guy. He tells of, but my main goal is if I can document and read more, because while reading with eyes, I don't know why, but my eyes like doze off. But yeah, he tells of failing to hold jobs, of drinking, of blaming his hard luck on foreigners. In a barely audible voice, he pleads, I can't stop being sorry for what we've done, and I am infinitely ashamed. Each day's news come to us rife with such reports of this disintegration of civility and safety, an onslaught of mean spirited impulse running amok. Okay, this motherfucker knows how to write. Let's see. Um, he has a fucking rhyme pattern going on. Okay. He has, okay. Safety, onslaught, spirited impulse. Yeah, my guy. But he has, other than the alliteration, he has this rhyme as well. Let's see. Comes to I've uh, distinction of civility and safety. Yeah, civility, safety, and onslaught of spirited, running amok. My guy is literally fucking a drummer in this shit. Okay. But the news simply reflects back to us on a larger scale a creeping sense of emotions out of control in our own lives and in those of the people around us. No one is insulted from this erratic tide of outburst and regret. It reaches into all of our lives in one way or another. The last decade has seen a steady drum roll. Okay. Yeah. This motherfucker is doing this shit consciously, or he's internalized the instinct of intertwining words like fucking threat thoughts that he's like what 40, 50 while writing this because he said he was fresh off a PhD, so it's 24, 25 give or take, or at the very least, at the very latest 28 for PhD. Let's say 25, the medium. 20 after that, 45. While writing this is like pushing 50. Okay. Drum roll of reports like these, portraying an uptick in emotional ineptitude, dis- desperation, and recklessness in our families, our communities, and our collective lives. These years have chronicled surging rage and despair. Yes, this motherfucker knows what he's doing. I'm not gonna highlight everything, but I clearly see his fucking writing patterns. I've been writing for 17 years every single day, so yeah, these are so like not advanced, but so seamlessly interwoven, but it's still there's discrepancy here that it is actually conscious effort. But yeah, whether in the quiet loneliness of latchkey kids, latchkey or lackey kids left with a TV for a babysitter, left with a TV for a babysitter. I fuck with that shit. This reminds me of my German instructor that he had three kittens, and he would literally play anime when he was out for the kittens. That this paints me that picture. Or in the pain of children abandoned, neglected, or abused, or in the ugly intimacy of marital violence. Okay, okay. Ugly intimacy of marital violence. There's this book, uh, psychologist, friend of mine suggested to me, and he told me, "You're so kind of perfectionist. Read this book. You have trauma because of your perfectionist." But basically, the book is called "Reinvent Your Life," and I yet to finish that book. But yeah, and this the book literally says, to quote Napoleon Hill as well, you're addicted to the person you are because that toxic familiarity of a failure person or just toxic relationships is better than the unfamiliar um, kind of new uncharted territories. And this even goes deeper because my biology teacher back in high school uh, would be fascinated with addiction. And he literally told us that in addiction, your biochemical structure is shaped. So, addiction literally, your dopamine release, your fucking endorphins, any kind of chemical reactions in your body are tied to the familiarity sense of things, which is fascinating. But yeah, so ugly intimacy is the best description of such things. Interesting. Of marital violence, spreading emotional malaise. Okay, my guy knows French as well. Can be read in numbers, showing a jump in depression around the world and the reminders of arguing a surging tide of aggression, teens with guns in a school, freeway mishaps ending in shootings, disgruntled ex-employees massacring former fellow workers, emotional abuse, drive-by shooting, and post-traumatic stress all entered the common lexicon over the last decade. I'm in love with this guy's mastery of sonic symphony of sounds. Okay. As the slogan of the hour shifted from the cheery "Have a nice day" to the testiness of Make My Day. What? Shifted for okay, yeah, I got it. This book is a guide to making sense of the senselessness. As a psychologist and for the last decade as a journalist for the New York Times, okay, flexing time, I have been tracking the progress of our scientific understanding of the realm of the rational. From that perch, I have been struck by two opposing trends. One portraying a growing calamity. Funny enough, Marcus Aurelius is literally using that word as well, calamity, in our shared emotional life. The other offering some hopeful remedies. Okay, this is basically reinvent your life, but for emotional distress. That one is for emotional overspillage and overcompensation, but this one is a remedy for what? Maybe the same thing, but let's see. Why this emotion now? Okay. The last decade, despite its bad news, has also seen an unparalleled burst of scientific studies of emotion. Most dramatic are the glimpses of the brain at work, made possible but by innovative methods such as new brain imaging technologies. Yeah, because we think in images, so yeah. They have made visible for the first time in human history what has always been a source of deep mystery. History, mystery, okay, my guy is a rapper in this set. Exactly. How this intricate mass of cells operates while we think and feel, imagine and dream. This flood of neurobiological data lets us understand more clearly than ever how the brain's centers for emotion move us to rage or to tears, and how more ancient parts of the brain which steer us to make war as well as love are channeled for better or worse. This unprecedented clarity on the workings of emotions and their failing brings into focus some fresh remedies for our collective emotional crisis. Focus, crisis, Okay, my guy, I get it. My guy is a psychologist Eminem. I have had to wait till now before the scientific harvest was full enough to write this book. Okay, so he's older than 50. Okay. These insights are so late in coming largely because the place of feeling in mental life has been surprisingly slighted by research over the years, leaving the emotions a largely unexplored continent for scientific psychology. Into this void has rushed a welter of self help books. I hate self help books, but okay. Well intentioned, well intentioned advice based at best on clinical opinion, but lacking much, if any, scientific basis. I like this guy because, yeah, what you call self help is like so. I don't know, like why, but so in demand because it's just so magically easy to consume and so magically like easy to follow that of course the majority are just gonna follow that because if you read Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment, 1 out of 100 people don't even understand the plot, let alone the message. But when you read Atomic Habits, which is practical but not with the depth of human psychosis analysis of psychological insight that literally birthed Freud and Nietzsche, for whatever it's worth, and a new wave of literature that through storytelling you literally analyze human psychosis. Atomic Habit is by far outselling, and don't quote me on this. I was looking at a couple of like AI introduced analysis of books in ages and centuries to understand the flow of nations and gravitation towards self-help books. And AI literally said Atomic Habits is fucking outselling Crime and Punishment. What the actual fuck? Okay. Now, science is finally able to speak with authority to these urgent and perplexing questions of the psyche at its most irrational, to map with some precision the human heart. Perplexing, psyche, precision. Okay, okay. My guy, my guy. This mapping offers a challenge to those who subscribe to a narrow view of intelligence, arguing that IQ is a genetic given that cannot be changed by life experience. That's totally bullshit because IQ is literally pattern recognition, and you can force more patterns into your brain, basically. One of my own theories is that you literally force curiosity by learning a new language and anchoring that to one of your passions. Could be a story, could be documentary, could be news, could be, for fuck's sakes, fucking polyglot pussy, whatever. But when you anchor that curiosity in a new language, you're forced to follow on that curiosity and feed yourself the new language, the new structure, the new things that force your curiosity. And when your curiosity is forced, you find patterns faster. And the more you do that, the more your intelligence is gonna grow. But yeah, that's a theory of mine. So yeah, take it from a polyglot who learned and is learning languages like fucking Pokemons. And is in last 8 years, I've started uh, learning to uh, comprehensive and elaborative level of writing articles in these languages in 7 languages. So yeah, and that's our destiny in life, uh, is largely fixed by these aptitudes. That argument ignores the more challenging question: what can we change that will help our children fare better in life? What factors are at play? For example, when people of high IQ flounder and those of modest IQ do surprisingly well. That's because um, the capitalist life is literally designed for the majority, and majority is modest IQ, as literally he says, and those with a higher IQ level are not actually designed for this life. And there is a documentary made for this, that the world in the documentary is made for blind people. Everything is in braille, and just the whole world is designed for a blind man. And when a man gifted with vision is walking in this world, he has no understanding of anything because there is no light for crossing the street, there is no text to be read, there is no knowledge of languages even, other than just a braille or the lines that they read with touching, you know. So that's why the mediocre, modest IQ thrive because that feeds the machine of capitalism. So yeah. And okay, I would argue that the difference quite often lies in the abilities called here emotional intelligence. Okay, which includes self control, zeal, and persistence. I kinda don't agree with him, but let's see what he has to say, then decide them for ourselves. Because persistence, at least from my understanding, is just seeing the patterns that work and applying that yourself. Because as Jordan Peterson says, without direction, you have no hope, and without direction, you have no movement. And without movement, you don't have any reason to persist through hardship. So, yeah. And that's literally, I'm gonna quote this in a jiffy because I need to read this whole thing. Um, there was this experimentation that you can look it up about hope with rats. That rats went from 15 minutes of hopeless uh, swimming to 60 hours of swimming because they had hope. So you can look it up. And the ability to motivate oneself. And these skills, as we shall see, can be taught to children, giving them a better chance to use whatever intellectual potential the genetic lottery might have given them. It's not lottery, but we're gonna slide that as well. Beyond this possibility looms a pressing moral imperative. These are times when the fabric of society seems to unravel at ever greater speed, when selfishness, violence, and a meanness of spirit seem to be rotting the goodness of our communal lives. Here, the argument for the importance of emotional intelligence hinges on the link between sentiment, character, and moral instinct. There is growing evidence that fundamental ethical stances in life stem from underlying emotional capacities. For one, impulse is the medium of emotion. The seed of all impulse is a feeling bursting to express itself in action. Those who are at the mercy of impulse, who lack self control, suffer a moral deficiency. The ability to control impulse is the base of will and character. Okay, my guy is literally um, channeling his inner Marcus Aurelius. But yeah, by the same token, the root of altruism lies in empathy, the ability to read emotions in others. Lacking a sense of another's need or despair, there is no caring. And if there are any two moral stances that our times call for, they are precisely this: self restraint and compassion. Okay, I'm gonna just read with my eyes this section, our journey. Intelligence to emotion. Okay, interesting. So he wants to widen the range of emotions. Interesting. Um, if I'm not mistaken, there is this quantum emotion theory that, or I don't know, there's something that I recently read that, yeah, it literally says about quantum emotion management. Maybe it was birthed from this book, but let's see. Emotional habits, interesting. Finally, someone said it. Intelligence is everything. I've been screaming this at the top of my lung that intelligence is everything, and the bullshit thing that life doesn't um, what you call value the most intelligent one, but the most useful one. But what they don't understand is the most useful one is needed and required to be the most intelligent one because, as he literally says here, intelligence is not just pattern recognition, but implementing those patterns. So, yeah. Emotional circuits, interesting. I think I'm gonna literally do this because, yeah, my voice is gonna give out if I do this like for 6 hours a day and literally just narrating shit. I'm just gonna highlight what I find interesting and keep myself fucking conscientious of reading, but at the same time, highlighting what I find important as well. I never understood drug abuse or alcohol or anything. And don't get me wrong, I've done drugs, I've got drunk, like drunk, but my only commitment is literally to learning and writing. And my thing is that, okay, when you're processing emotion, when you are processing thoughts, thoughts are a non-linear in nature. So literally, when you're fucking doing a physical linear thing to soothe the non-physical non-matter issue, that doesn't connect. I just don't understand like how people use drugs or whatever. Even like okay, I'm gonna skip this part. Yeah, he will see that day in his mind, but I don't think he's gonna live to see that. But I like the aspiration, and that explains the resurface of um, yeah, philosophy, ancient philosophy, stoicism, even like self-help gurus from last decades, because people are literally just starving for meaning. And although TikTok can give you dopamine, it doesn't give you serotonin, it doesn't give you fucking endorphin, it doesn't give you actual lasting chemical reactions. And we're gonna see what he says. Part 1 ده شوكا. The emotional brain. Okay, this is the highly scientific shit that I want, because I need to know how you actually function. I'm literally reading this book because I want to know how your brain literally functions for processing emotion. Okay, my guy is deep on philosophy. I like it. Okay, he's doing the Cialdini approach, that he literally is opening with a story to hook you emotionally, to then blabber on with scientific things. Reproductive success, interesting, because my understanding of the parental thing is that based on neuroscience, the chemicals drastically shift in the parents. They are prone to stress or whatever, and they literally grow affectionate towards their child. And that's one side of things. But the other side of things is that parental behavior is tied to our starvation for meaning, and one of our core desires, which is immortality, that the book Denial of Death um, outlines, that everyone has a death project, immortality project, and the most common one is just surviving your gene. Um, some people do it with statues, empires, books, like this guy, and some people do it with more kind of sophistication or something. But yeah, yeah, there is not. This is not love. It's just different wiring of neurons. But yeah, even that is life. So yeah. I disagree with him because he literally says um, it is from the heart, from not from intellect. But I think it is actually subconscious acting rather than conscious. When you save someone, you're not saving them, you're saving your own value, that your life has the second priority to your value. And your value is quite selfish for you because you do this for you. You save your kid because your sense of responsibility is superior to your sense of survival. So it's not heart, it's subconscious coding of your belief system. Yeah, basically, he's literally saying this is neural imprint. So, yeah, the belief system that I call it. Okay. Interesting. So, he basically is in line with a couple of other, um, not couple of other, but Chialdini and even before him, timeline wise, Napoleon Hill said that we have literally this hierarchy of decision making. You consciously train your subconscious, and your subconscious builds your habits, as he says, but as I believe it, your belief system. And that belief system literally becomes a self fulfilling cycle that um, those habits lead to results, lead to action, and that action leads to results, that those results enforce and empower the um, the core beliefs by consciously saying, okay, this is going good, this is good, I'm confident, let's say with example, you say I'm confident. When you say I'm confident enough times and you subconsciously believe that, you start to walk straight, wider shoulders, without limping, without hesitation. In your voice, tonality, everything reflects that confidence. And the more you reflect that as part of your identity and it's part of your belief system, the more results are going to gravitate towards that confidence. And the more results of confidence you're going to have, the more you're going to feed yourself the identity of your confidence. So it's a self fulfilling cycle. So, yeah, he basically is saying that intelligence can come to nothing when the emotions hold sway. Yeah, basically, he is categorizing emotion as conscious decisions, but emotions as subconscious, habitual belief systems. Interesting. Yeah, this is in line with Cialdini's autopilot discussion. This reminds me that without Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment, there is no Freud. Without Freud, there is no Atomic Habits or like similar psychological uh, evolutions that lead to Atomic Habits. And Atomic Habits literally outsells fucking Dostoevsky, bro. I don't get that shit. Yeah, he literally said it. That's heart of my subject. He was too passionate with the language. He literally had to summarize himself. He loves this one early spring day, one winter and glorious day. Okay, we get it. This reminds me that I don't think it was in one of my books, but I've internalized this image of emotions that emotions are just, let's say, as a signal that you're running low on gas and the gas signal goes off. And it doesn't mean now you're gonna stop the car. Now you're at zero gas. It's just a sign that you need to be careful of an immediate or further future that you need to attend to the car and to get to the gas. But what happens is that those sounds and those emotional signaling are so tied to our sense of survival that you literally think now you are out of gas because that message, they call it mood congruent memory, that your brain literally tricks you that now the catastrophe is happening because you need to move away from it in the near future. That's literally how our brain works. And one of the psychological um, kind of suggestions is that the moment you are angry, the moment you are frustrated, you just call it out. You say, this is anger, this is frustration, this is anxiety. And you separate yourself from that because you're not the emotion, you're observing the signal. You say, okay, I understand we're low on gas. Next station, I'm gonna attend to it, and we're good, we're fine. But when the emotion is going off in your brain, it's not obvious that it's an external signal rather than internal state. So you literally go and say, okay, this is emotion, and I got the message, moving on. You know, that literally separates you from the feeling. But yeah. Okay, emotion, motere, Latin to move. Move away. Okay. Okay. That that tickles my ego that I just freestyled something that he was gonna say anyways. That congruency of thoughts not only deepens the message because if I got to it on my own and he then repeated that, I have already internalized the message. But also, it gives your kind of cognitive bias and confirmation that yeah, you understand things in the same lane. This is so fascinating. Literally, your body is not just signaling, it's preparing. That's so good. That's gonna help my writing so well because I can literally paint the picture of anger with the body movements. Nah, nah, he's cooking, he's cooking. Oh, now I understand. I once asked a psychologist friend of mine how to diffuse anger, and she told me that you literally clench your fist as hard as you can. So maybe that's the reason because you have the fuel ready to go, so you need to strike something, and you just focus all of the energy in your palm, and you just release that energy because the energy is there. Interesting. Dude, I hope he went over all of the main emotions. This is so practical. Okay, he is nice. Interesting. So literally when you are happy, you're less sad. Huh. Interesting. So basically your resilience is higher when you're happy because it's literally just cleaning house. Your brain is cleaning house. I thought it's actually the opposite that your um, actual state is happiness and trash comes into the household. But this is very interesting. I need to read more on that shit. Jesus, you literally are prepping your retina to retain the light. Jeez, sheesh, bro. Bruh. Hmm. I'm still kind of perplexed about the sadness part. Let's read it again. So basically, you are sad to not be able to distract yourself and sit with the feeling and process it. Yeah, I think that's it because how you think about it is that when you are sad, um, and you force habits and distractions, you become more sad. So instead of fueling the um, instead of like adding fuel to the vehicle when it's low on gas, you're just ignoring it. So the this metaphorical signal is going crazy. Yeah, maybe yeah, maybe that's the functionality of sadness because you literally are shut down to every distraction to sit with the feeling and process it appropriately. I think that's it. That's it. Okay. Basically, body is emotionally hibernating for a new burst. Okay. Okay, so it literally means because um, the amplification of representation of these emotions now is disproportionate to their original survival needs. We need to manage them proportionately them ourselves. So when a clenching fist would not kill anyone in the past, that clenching fist is literally pushing the trigger, um, appropriately enough called hair trigger. So yeah. Okay, he literally is talking about conscious and subconscious, the emotional mind. Interesting. This guy loves philosophy. Okay. Okay, so we have three brains, primitive, emotional, and rational. Okay, so this is actually like retina that we have in our eyes. We have these receptors that um, are functioning in two layers. One layer is you identify the shape and depth of the subject. The other one is to take the shape and the subject and the the color, the hue of the whole thing, and send it to the brain as okay, this is a lamp, this is let's say a book, this is a phone. This guy loves Latin. Sheesh. New cortex, interesting. Yeah, yeah, when you are a writer, one day is comedy, the other day is tragedy. But yeah, again, hot August afternoon. Okay, this guy's thinks it's Shakespeare. Okay, this is basically Raskolnikov killing an extra person. Okay. Yeah, this reminds me of a friend of mine who was killed at 17, and they were drunk with a couple of other people, and they were joking, and yeah, I think they stabbed him, not lethally, but sadly enough, they were fearful of having injured him or having killed him, that they actually proceeded with killing him. So, yeah. There was this guy who literally had a heart attack after his football team scored, and he literally died because uh, the team was an underdog facing a championship kind of Goliath, and the joy was like so overly exaggerated that his body couldn't even handle it. So. I wonder because my own actual way of crying is when I'm talking, and not even talking to myself, but to an audience, let's say. And this is very troublesome because there's a functionality between behind crying, and no matter how hard I try or I lean into it or whatever, when I'm alone, I do not cry at all. So, which is, and when I'm even not talking, when I'm with other people, I don't cry. But when I'm with someone, no matter stranger or whatever, and I'm talking through the emotions, I get the feeling of readiness to cry, which is quite interesting because I haven't found the reason behind it. Because I don't think it's amygdala kind of issue because there are other emotions, fear, rage, frustration, anger, everything. But that specific kind of functionality of tears is interesting. That is missing in that kind of specific context. Hmm. Psychological sentinel. Bruh, this guy has a word, vivid words. And yeah. Okay, so basically, amygdala is this emergency exit that bypasses the actual brain functional route and is faster because of the emergency at hand. Emotional memories without cognitive participation. Fascinating. This reminds me of two things. The one is the movie Focus, that the guy is subconsciously shown this exact number, 50 or 60 occurrences a day, and the game is that he needs to choose one number, and there is a bet, but he's literally on subconscious level looking for the number he's been shown all day, and they orchestrated everything. But the other occurrence is that where were we? You literally have this sense of deja vu, and having literally seen it already. That's the literally the French thing that you don't know when, why, but there is it. And there was even this commercial that there was this Coca-Cola and another product flashing between the sequences of in a movie that your eyes, your conscious kind of receptors are not fast enough to register that, but your subconscious actually sees that. And that literally shot up a lot of sales for the thing. The guy was sued by the companies themselves because they didn't want association with him, but yeah, that's interesting. Okay, I just had the idea of my next two characters, Amy and Dala. Yeah, amygdala. Okay. Interesting. That's what you call this. Yeah, Napoleon Hill says as well. And this guy literally said this before Cialdini. Cialdini is pioneer of even this book. But imagine, okay, so he literally said the subconscious um, speaks two languages: emotion and repetition. And repetition leads to congruency with your identity that leads to emotion, or you literally give your brain an emotional shock. But because that's not controllable, you can repeat one thing 50 times a day and it's gonna overwrite your subconscious mind, but you cannot shock it even once by decision because the shock and the emotional engagement is not fully dependent on you. You cannot manipulate the emotional depth of a word, a scene, a kind of occurrence, because you need to have investment in it. You cannot fucking uh, architect a breakup and have it have the same effect and emotional shock that the surprise breakup would, you know? So the surprise is the 90% of the shock. And when you can control it, there is no surprise. So there is no shock. Okay, that's part one. More of the actual like infrastructure, infras, the infrastructure of the brain and what's amygdala, what's yeah, neocortex and everything. But yeah, the nature of emotional intelligence for the next part.